Ladies and gentlemen, Zoran is a moron. Well, at least if you ask me, and quite possibly certifiably insane. And you all know me, folks. I bring proof, receipts, great story, chat, conversation, and of course, clips to back it all up. But have any of you ever heard of the old saying that you don't bite the hand that feeds you? Or maybe, how about this one? And there's a sucker born every minute. Yeah, I found myself having to repeat and say these quite often and more frequently as of late, but maybe I'm not alone in this plight. But let's talk about the hand Zoran just tried to bite and maybe even chop off and amputate completely. Starbucks. And folks, right now, there are somewhere in the neighborhood of 190 Starbucks stores across the 5 boroughs that Mamdani is set to control here soon. That is, if he doesn't wind up shooting himself in the foot or accidentally detonating his own beeper before Jan 1. But for argument's sake, we will humor his continuation of U.S. citizenship for now. But ladies and gentlemen, that's upwards of over 4,000 to maybe even 4,800 New Yorkers showing up every day to make your lattes, pay their rent, and keep the city moving. Yes, we're talking about the workers, the staff, the employees, the baristas, but those stores just so happen to bring in over $475 million in sales every single year, damn near $500 million. And do you know what a Marxist, socialist, communist, Muslim mayor needs to hatch in order to hatch his plan of eating and taxing the rich and raising corporate taxes sky high to kingdom come? Yes, that's right. You guessed it. Businesses and their employees. Because that money doesn't just vanish into some billionaire's pocket. No, it flows through landlords, local suppliers, and most importantly, into city taxes. We're talking $42 million in sales tax alone, money that goes straight into the programs that Zoran loves to promote for free: childcare, buses, housing, of which are crashing and burning as we speak, and New Yorkers are already revolting. Like the slew of NYPD police officers turning in their badges and guns and resigning and retiring. Oh, and the city workers. Yeah. You know, the folks he needs to drive these free buses around. Yeah, they're bouncing too. But we'll talk more about that in just a second. And stick with me here, folks, and stay locked in. And if you like what you see and hear, then consider subscribing to my channel because it really does help out a lot. But get this. And now, folks, imagine Starbucks says, you know what? We're done with New York City and this ass clown Mamdani. And they close every store in NYC tomorrow. That's 4,500 jobs that just disappear overnight. That $42 million in sales tax, gone. Another $12 to $15 million in payroll taxes, vanished. Property taxes, occupancy fees, all of it, another 10 to 15 million down the drain. Disappears. In total, the city loses 70 to $80 million a year in direct revenue. That's real money that pays for real services, and that's just the beginning. When those stores close, foot traffic dies, nearby delis, newsstands, and small shops lose customers, rents drop, landlords struggle, the ripple effect adds another $150 to $200 million in lost economic activity. Thanks, Zoran. Look, it's not just a coffee chain leaving. It's a chunk of the city's heartbeat stopping, all because of one man, whom I'll show you here. Watch or just listen, as I know some of you enjoy tuning in as an audio-based podcast only. And so listen to this as New York City's mayor-elect Zoran Mamdani, a man whose name alone probably makes your blood boil, speaking at a rally just moments ago, and he's out there gaslighting his flock of sheep about the cause of striking Starbucks workers during their so-called Red Cup rebellion, demanding livable wages. But now, get this. he's contrasting the whopping $95.8 million that Starbucks CEO Brian Niccol raked in last year. Yes, folks, you heard that right. Nearly 96 million bucks with the measly median barista salary of under 15 grand. That's a disparity of roughly 6,666 times, folks. But here's the kicker. The argument here is that jobs like baristas are just entry-level gigs for teenagers, not careers that you can sustain a life on. And guess what? If these union-driven wage hikes go through, they might just close down Starbucks stores left and right. Don't believe me? Well, just you wait and see. More AI and automation are coming for these jobs anyway, so brace yourselves. But remember, this is the man who's about to run your city. Run it directly into the ground. And so now, here we go, folks. And let's roll the tape.
We are talking about a CEO of a company who made $96 million just last year. $96 million, which is 6,666 times the median Starbucks worker's salary. That's the kind of disparity that we are seeing here. And what these workers are asking for is the bare minimum. They are asking for a salary that they can actually live off of. They are asking for hours they can actually build their life around. They are asking for the violations of labor law to finally be resolved. And they deserve a city that has their back. And I am here to say that that is what New York City will be. My message to Starbucks management is that I stand here today to practice with these workers. And if you force these workers to go on strike, then I will be there with them on that strike as well.
And if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. Go on. Go ahead. Go ahead and f around, because you best believe your ass will find out. Now, granted, what you're seeing here is the aftermath and results of foolish behavior happening in none other than California. Yeah. Shocker, right? But this poor, dumb girl, it seems, a UCLA pro-Palestine protester, was rushed to the hospital after collapsing on day 9 of her hunger strike.
This is on you, UCLA.
Hi, my name is Maya, and I'm on day 6 of my hunger strike. Although there has been no response from UCLA about my hunger strike, I have been made aware that they know about the strike and they are monitoring it. UCLA claims to care deeply about the health and safety of its students, yet has failed to directly speak to me about my hunger strike. Many people do not know just how involved UCLA and other universities across the country are in the Palestinian genocide. Universities and institutions of learning are run like for-profit businesses. They hold billions of dollars in investments and private equity funds. This means the people who run this university directly profit from the slaughter of Palestinian children. I'm going to read from Unmasking UCLA, which is a white paper made by diligent activists at our school who have been researching and talking about divestment far before I've been here.
But it just proves my point, and I would be willing to bet dollars to donuts that Zoran talks a good game for the entry-level worker making overpriced, shitty, burnt coffee in New York, but he's not gonna house you, welcome you into his home, feed you, clothe you, and put money in your pocket. So go on strike if you want, baby girl, but make sure that you drop a pin on that unemployment office so you know where to head to next. And I bet that line's going to be long, wrapped around the building. Well, you know, with the way things are going up there right now. And to be honest, it's not just me on this hot take, Ma, but because this post here echoes so many others and their opinions rooted in based, like-minded common sense. And Sonny says, I don't even like Starbucks. I could care less, but a coffee maker shouldn't be making the same as, say, a paramedic now, should they? I mean, really, folks, I hope this isn't a hill anyone's willing to die on here, because the way my brain is set up leans towards hard work, ethic, thick-skinned grit, tenacity, and of course, capitalism. But Zoran's whole plan depends on taxing companies like Starbucks to fund his giveaways. He brags about raising corporate taxes, calls the CEO greedy, and acts like the money will always be there. But spoiler alert, companies aren't chained to New York. Starbucks already closed 34 stores there in September, and I bet now, after this shit, they're just waiting to close even more. I mean, Starbucks, much like Amazon's Jeff Bezos, have already packed up and moved away from their home state and origin because of woke politics and stupid government-led money grabs.
Welcome back in this morning, and new this morning, Starbucks has announced it's closing 1% of its stores and laying off 900 employees, and we're already seeing the impacts here in Seattle.
Let's get to King 5's Savannah Welch, who's live on Capitol Hill right now, where it appears the Starbucks Reserve Roastery has shut its doors. Savannah, what are you seeing there?
Well, Jake and Mimi, all of the windows of the roastery are boarded up. There's some people outside questioning what's going on, and signs also posted at the front. The sign on the front reads, "With heavy hearts, we announce the closure of the Seattle Reserve Roastery. Thank you for making us a part of your life." I mean, this roastery is a very popular Starbucks for locals and tourists. It's often packed full of customers. This location was actually one of 6 Reserve Roasteries in the world. It comes as Starbucks announced they're closing more stores and 900 jobs, cutting 900 jobs nationwide. This was just announced overnight. We've reached out to Starbucks to find out how many stores and employees here in Washington will be impacted during all of this. And also, this week, union baristas have been pushing for better hours and higher pay. Contract negotiations took place on Monday, and Starbucks workers were outside this location in Seattle protesting, asking for better pay and better hours overall. Now, back out here at the Reserve here in Capitol Hill, we don't know why this location specifically was chosen. We also are still working to figure out how many employees this will impact, so we'll keep you posted. We're still working to get that information this morning, since this is all very fresh information that just was released overnight, and this happened just early this morning. So we'll keep you posted as soon as we learn any new details. In Seattle, Savannah Welch, King 5 News.
It can happen overnight, just like that. They're watching. And if Zoran keeps attacking, then they'll walk right out of the door and ditch New York City too, faster than a New York minute, or at least for 4 years or so. I mean, but you know, they won't be the last either. He has got to be certifiably insane. I mean, just think about this, folks. Less than 4% of Starbucks shops are unionized, but Zoran the commie Mamdani thinks the 96% of Starbucks baristas in non-unionized shops should get no tips for extra holiday money because a handful of elitist spoiled brats want to over-ask. And folks even say they prefer Dunkin' anyway, but maybe they'll stop by, as Dunkin' laughs at all the free promotion and additional business and revenue headed their way. But ladies and gentlemen, this is how the collapse starts. First one chain leaves, then another. Then the people who can afford to follow. I mean, face it, New York City has already lost 1.5 million residents since 2020, and businesses are next. Then New York becomes a city of empty storefronts and broken promises and open hands and empty stomachs. But maybe it will take a self-inflicted hunger strike in order for the hot girls for Zoran to really feel the pain of socialism in their bones. But so now we just wait and see who breaks first. Zoran, forced to admit he needs the companies he hates, or does he double down, chase more businesses out, and watch the city bleed to death? My best guess says he'll double down. But like I said, Zoran is a moron, and he's willing to put New Yorkers in harm's way, and it's acceptable for them to be casualties because backing off means admitting the hand he's biting is the one feeding his entire dream, which simply put are all campaign lies. Kathy Hochul's already called his ass out on it. But when that dream of his collapses, it won't be the billionaires who suffer. It'll be the baristas without jobs, the families without services, and the city left holding an empty cup, or better yet, just getting burned. And you know who's not going to be getting burned? Warren Buffett, especially after having just made a tremendous investment in Google's parent company, Alphabet. Thanks, Sarah. But here's the simple truth, folks. While Mamdani's tax hammer threatens to scorch NYC jobs and drive companies out, Mr. Omaha himself, Warren Buffett, just dropped $4.3 billion on Alphabet stock, making it one of his top 10 holdings. And so, needless to say, he's betting big on Google's AI-powered future. Cloud, search, YouTube, all printing cash. Meanwhile, Sundar Pichai isn't waiting to see if Governor Hochul blocks the 11.5% tax hike Mamdani demands. And he's already got Plan B all mapped out. But if need be and push comes to shove, then expect to see Google and Parent shift thousands of NYC roles to Austin, Toronto, and Zurich. Places with lower taxes and eager talent, and I'd be willing to bet you cash money they're all waiting and watching today's spectacle put on for Starbucks union workers to see what Mamdani's next play is. My guess, it'll be a bad one. But he can't stop progress and innovation, two things that mix with socialism like oil and water, and Google keeps growing. Profits stay safe. The only change and or variable here is the city. It risks losing high-paying tech jobs to boot. And so, yeah, sure, baristas may lose some shifts, families may lose services, and Alphabet would face a modest but noticeable headwind from Mamdani's tax plan, primarily through higher state-level liabilities that could crimp NYC-specific investments. But as a global behemoth, the company is well-positioned to absorb this via obviously tax planning, relocation, or lobbying, but without existential threat. Keyword there, relocation. However, in a high tax environment, NYC already ranks top 5 for corporate burdens. It might accelerate Alphabet's diversification away from legacy hubs, aligning with CEO Sundar Pichai's 2025 emphasis on geographic resilience. If the hike stalls in Albany, for example, due to Kathy Hochul's reelection bid next year, impacts will be delayed or diluted. Otherwise, NYC could end up with empty offices, but Buffett's cash register keeps ringing and Google's escape hatch is wide open. And I'm going to keep an eye on this one and share with you all my findings and opinions. Might I suggest we all watch for Mamdani's January 2026 inauguration address for signals on negotiation flexibility as he tests the waters between now and then. But as for the Oracle and the algorithm, yeah, they'll be just fine. Drug Channels warns Medicare Part D 2026 and preferred networks vanish as the PDP market collapses. Most Medicare Advantage enrollees sacrifice access to wide network of Medicare providers. Managing Medicare in 2026, navigating major payment and policy changes, and Ropes and Gray says, finalize changes to Medicare payment rules, key takeaways for life sciences companies. And what you need to know is Medicare madness is headlining and trending, and AEP is here, folks. Meanwhile, studies show concerning gaps and asks important questions about lower quality cancer care for Medicare Advantage enrollees. But the best way to protect Social Security and Medicare is to balance the budget, according to the Center for Retirement Research at Boston College. And I know you all have questions, and Chapter is there to help and get you answers. So many of the subscribers of my channel have already called and clicked on the link in the description. But I gotta ask, what are you waiting on? Call Chapter at 270-467-2426 now and don't delay. They've already taken care of so many folks, some saving over $1,100 on premiums alone. And there are so many changes happening right now, and the deadline is looming. But the last thing any of you want to do is find yourself stuck in 2026 with poor coverage and wasting money. I'm sure, right? I mean, give our friends at Chapter a call and tell them Kevin sent you. That number again is 270-467-2426. And I bet you'll be glad that you did.
There is an awful lot that I want to accomplish as mayor. I want everyone in this great city of ours to have a roof over their head. I want universal childcare and free K-8 summer care. I want world-class mass transit. I want great, safe public spaces where kids can run around with abandon. I want stable, affordable housing for renters. I want social housing. I want much more land and wealth to be owned and stewarded by communities instead of corporations. I want a robust economy with thriving small businesses, great living wage jobs, and strong rights for workers. I want a city where everyone has the basics of a dignified life, including healthy food, access to health care, and supportive communities. I want a city where your health and your life expectancy and your children's future doesn't depend on your zip code or your race. I believe that I will be stepping into office with a strong mandate to pursue this vision. I believe it is notable that all of that money focused on attacking me, but not my vision or platform. And that is because this vision and platform are supported by an overwhelming majority of Seattle residents, as demonstrated by the resounding victories of the other progressive candidates running for office in Seattle this year.
And I want to know why anyone of sound mind would even give this woman and others like her not only the time of day, but their freaking vote, which is a vote to ultimately destroy and ruin their city, their home, their safety, their jobs, their livelihood, their lives. But I think I might have just stumbled upon the answer to that question. And do you remember what I was saying earlier about these socialists like Mamdani being certifiably insane? Well, watch this.
First of all, identify it for us. You're in a session and you pick up on what?
Well, Harris, it doesn't take long for me to pick up on this. People are obsessed with Trump. They're fixated. They're hyper fixated on Trump. And they talk about some of the features of this disorder. They can't sleep. They feel traumatized by Mr. Trump. They feel restless. I had one patient who said she couldn't enjoy a vacation because anytime she saw Trump in the news or on her device, she felt triggered. So this is a profound pathology, and I would even go so far as to call it the defining pathology of our time.
These people come to you for the things that you described. Can't sleep, traumatized, perhaps depression. I don't want to put words in your mouth. But at first, you are there to treat an illness, a disorder of some kind. And what you figure out is the trigger.
Well, and Trump is the trigger for many of these people. And to be that fixated on a figure, on a person, it's simply not healthy. And our country has strayed so far away from where we once were. If you look at in the 80s when President Reagan was shot, people were united. He famously said, I hope you're all Republicans to the surgeons. And the response was, today, Mr. President, we're all Republicans. But our country has lost that. We've strayed so far from that unity.
Mm-hmm. And what do you see? Because you told me off camera 3/4 of your patient load right now has what you're calling this TDS.
Well, 3/4 of my patients will present with a lot of these symptoms, and within probably 5 minutes of seeing me, their hatred for Trump comes up. So if you're that hyper-focused on Trump, that's a real issue, and it's worth being treated.
I really do hope these folks get help. And when I think hyper-focused on Trump, I actually think about Gavin Newsom. I mean, he came across my feed just the other day because of this meme here, I think. I mean, he tried to make something here to poke fun at and try to embarrass or humiliate, attempting to smear JD Vance, but it was another swing and a miss, just further going to show the left doesn't know how to meme. These foolish Democrats don't get that we actually love this shit. And honestly, doing things like this just makes JD Vance even more popular. And of course, they will have to shift their focus off of Trump and onto someone else. Well, maybe. That is unless we run Trump 2028. But that one there might just cause all their heads to explode and pop. Man, wouldn't that be a sight to see? But as things are right now, we have to discuss this briefly. And it's a post from a hater and an uninformed and ill-advised one at that. But Turnbull posted this and it says, yes, your $350K 3-bedroom dream home in a nice suburban neighborhood had its price driven up by illegal aliens working for less than minimum wage. Who is stupid enough to believe something so asinine? But in classic leftist fashion, leading with rage and sheer stupidity, seemingly allergic to facts and basic common sense, we make our way to the comments, in which they rarely ever disappoint and continue to remind, based in their response with some of the top comments that stood out. And I'll share with you, like, sorry you're unable to follow the tenets of Econ 101. Try to follow along. Private equity firms buy up these houses, and then their landlord arm receives taxpayer-funded welfare vouchers to pile 4 illegal or asylee alien families into one house. And then there's the entirely different issue of visa holder housing preferences, charts provided. Or this one here from Millennial Woes that says, it's amazing how much leftist discourse is just them pretending not to understand things, thus making discourse impossible. But this one here may be my personal favorite from Midwest State that plainly says, don't know if illegals are the reason, but your smug post shows you just don't know much about economics. I mean, if housing demand drives up the cost of housing outside of your nice neighborhood, then that pressure will rise up throughout the housing market as lower tier buyers, renters, will find a way to higher tier properties, which will raise the cost. Supply and demand, as always. And Dave Snyder points out the obvious one here and says, it's called Section 8 housing. Government overpays for illegal immigrants' rent. That inflates the housing market. Big banks buy single family housing because they know the government will pay up the rent. Banks win, home buyers lose. And then JL asks, so adding 30 million people to an already stretched housing market makes no sense to you? But I honestly thought this was common sense. However, I have been continuously proven wrong here as of late. But you can't tell me that all these people just happen to be this stupid by chance. I mean, I am convinced that this is a coordinated effort, a tactic and a strategy being used by the left and the now new Democratic Socialist Party trying to take over.
Okay, let's do a topic. So New York City Mayor-elect Zoran Mamdani has been consulting with Democratic governors, including Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, and Maryland Governor Wes Moore. Mamdani is said to be seeking advice on taking a stand against Trump's threats of immigration raids and National Guard deployments. So is this the smart thing for him to do? And will it make any difference?
I think it's really smart. I think it's smart to surround yourself with people that have experience dealing with this administration, have experience dealing with this president, and also having that coalition of expertise. He's hired an all-female team.
Yeah.
He's kept the police commissioner here. He's keeping the police commissioner here in New York, who has done, by all accounts, a wonderful job. He's hired 200 lawyers in anticipation of what Trump may do. This is someone that is ready to go from day one, and I'm applauding it. I think it's really impressive.
Sonny Hostin calling someone smart isn't quite the flex they may want you to believe. But Mamdani surrounding himself with other Trump haters and putting their heads together and hiring 200 lawyers is not going to amount to much of anything besides what he already has planned. And that's to take and make New York worse than the other Democrat-led cities in the country. And look, can you just imagine how bad these places are going to become once they're all filled with the woke left and all of its progressives?
So we are thinking about moving our whole entire family from Greenville, South Carolina to the West Coast, somewhere like Seattle or Portland or somewhere like that. That's a little bit more like progressive. I have lived in this area my whole entire life, which is 44 years, and I am done with it. I need to see something else. I have moved, Jason and I together have moved a lot of times. In the 10 or 12 whatever years we've been together, we've moved probably 4 times. But it's all been right inside the area. It just got real today because I texted my realtor, which usually the second I text my realtor, the deal's done, we gone. So if you live in Seattle or Portland or over there somewhere in that area that is blue, hit me up and let me know what it's like over there.
Yeah, it's like a turd, but with fire on it.
So obviously, you just mentioned some of the words that here in New York we heard a lot from the mayor-elect here, Zohran Mamdani, right? When you talk about affordability, but the word echoes don't end there, Mayor-elect. Let me play some of them.
The very clear twin crises of affordability.
We are facing an affordability crisis.
Truly affordable homes.
Affordable homeownership.
This city is your city.
This isn't their city, it's yours.
A new generation of leadership.
We can see with our own eyes that we need new leadership.
I mean, we sometimes will put what we call a montage together like that, Mayor-elect. It doesn't get easier than that one. I mean, it really does sound. You sound so much alike. I guess I'm just curious. Have you ever met him? Have you talked to each other at all since either of your victories, which are so important on coast to coast?
Not yet, although I certainly hope to. And it's funny because when I decided to run in this race, which was in February of this year, I'd never heard of Zohran Mamdani, and so it was a fun process over the first few months of my campaign to start getting text messages from friends. Oh, you got to check out this guy in New York City. And so I really do think it's remarkable and also makes a lot of sense, right? I think that there are some similar conditions playing out here in Seattle to New York. Obviously the affordability crisis being a big one. And yeah, there's some very similar dynamics. And I'm really excited to have a coast-to-coast partnership on driving forward this vision of an affordable city.
I don't see how. I mean, she's either a complete idiot or just a bald-faced liar or both. She's definitely uninformed as a mayor. I can tell you that. But go ahead. If you want, move to Seattle. I can tell you that there's two places I never want to visit ever again. And yeah, y'all can have this coast to coast partnership. Let me know how that ends up working out for you. But I'm not sure how this just hasn't clicked or doesn't compute for them yet. However, just give it time. They'll see. It's inevitable.
Off an Uber, because look how Mamdani got New York City. Bro, quit. There's no bus stop. Bro, just stop. Driver just got up and left. Yo, free V if anyone wants.
Bus drivers are quitting, and NYPD News is trying to run cover by saying how they're on track for hiring the most officers in a single year. But that's just because they're losing more than they can even hire, which if that doesn't spell disaster and send a shiver down your spine, then I don't know what does. New York City's never going to be safer with Mamdani in charge.
All right, guys, breaking news. The NYPD has 5,000 officers that are going to be resigning effective January 1st, 2026. I just dropped the report. Make sure you share it out. Get it out to all your people. I mean, what else are we going to do? They all want to leave because they don't want to be ruled under a communist.
And we come back around full circle. This is the truth, folks, and this is what's happening right now.
Going to leave entirely, but you're definitely not going to add any more restaurants here under this new leadership. Why do you take such issue with the new mayor?
Currently, we had 3 leases ready to sign in October. Upper West Side, Upper East Side, and West Side Midtown to expand Diner 24, because we were the first to bring back the 24-hour diner post-COVID. Because remember, all of them closed, and we brought back the 24-hour diner. And it really was such a success. We wanted to open 4 altogether just in the Manhattan area. But, when I start hearing uncertainty and I start hearing, defund the police and a lot of uncertainty in the small business areas of what I'm hearing this upcoming mayor campaigning on, we like clarity. We don't like guessing. So right now we're just like a sit back and wait and see if he can pass some of these things that he campaigned on, because we're not going to open businesses in that climate.
So if not in New York City, where else might you open more business?
Well, we have 2 diner leases ready to go in Miami, where I am right now. And we have plenty of capital to expand because the business is doing so well, and I believe there is a need for a 24-hour diner. But when you get to that $20 price point, people don't, the politicians don't understand it because they never ran a lemonade stand. But when you raise minimum wage to $30, at that point, that $12 hamburger becomes $22. And it's not going to work when you're in the fast casual business where the average ticket is $15 to $24 a person. That's basically a nail in the coffin. You're out of business. And all I say to the mayor, upcoming mayor, is, and actually he's quite impressive for a 33-year-old, but he's never run a business. He's never run a small business. And to me, I think he needs to open the doors for dialogue or debate with small business owners like myself and other restaurateurs and other small business owners to open dialogues. I think the best thing for all of us is a better New York City. And I just think his policies, his Democrat socialistic policies do not work for.
Well, after his term and when it's all said and done, Zoran can definitely say he has run businesses. It's just that he's run them off and or into the ground.
It's the rich who pay most of the taxes. You start taxing the rich will leave, and the poor will stay even poorer.
They won't leave.
They are leaving.
They will not leave.
They're already leaving. They will leave.
This is some scaremongering that's done, that if you tax the super rich, and like I said, the 20,000 people in the country have assets over £10 million, they are not going to leave their assets and just move to another country.
Yes,
their kids are in the private schools here, their culture, their lifestyle is very much in this country, and I think that's scaremongering to justify nurses and teachers in Coventry South paying more taxes than the billionaires, than Amazon and Facebook, who get to negotiate their taxation deals with the government. I think that's criminally unfair. I think we shouldn't be taxing work, we should be taxing wealth more. Because
I just want to come in on the. Thank you. I just want to come. It's really wrong to say that that high wealth taxes, high taxation doesn't drive away the wealthy. It really does. 17,000 high net worth individuals left this country last year. But worse than that, Zara, 150,000 young people, talented young people, have left this country because they don't see this country as being the place for them. So that is the chronic result of a system and a government that doesn't respect wealth creation and that thinks, as you do, that somehow people with wealth have somehow stolen it from other people and that it should be removed from them by the government and redistributed. Of course, they do pay their fair share.
Well, we can argue about that. That wealth isn't taxed as fairly as work.
No, but hang on. The wealthiest people do pay proportionately far more of their income and, of course, their wealth than other people. And as the gentleman says, this is the source of growth in our country. We have to get behind the wealth creators. That is the only place to get taxation from. It's also the place that creates, it's the source of jobs. It's the source of the businesses that we all rely on. We need to get behind entrepreneurs, yes, tax them properly, but crucially invite the wealthy of the world to come and set up businesses here, invest in our country and stay here and make a home. We will all be the beneficiaries of that.
All right, I've got 10 minutes left and I want to fit in this question.
It's New York. It's Seattle. It's even abroad, worldwide. It's basic, simple, common sense, or so I thought. And there's no example of how this can or has ever worked. Zoran in New York is no different. I mean, just think, what businesses would want to move to New York just to pay more and be hated thanks to Mamdani's socialist ideas? It's okay. I'll wait. Or how about this question? Who would want to move to New York just to live in a crime-filled city, overrun with trash after all the city workers quit and walked off the job, and pay $4,500 a month rent for a 200 square foot apartment just to get woken up every day by 5 a.m. for a call to prayer? And I'll never align with this idea that the people who work hard and build something are the enemy because someone like Elizabeth Warren wants to use political games to guilt her dwindling base into believing that there's something wrong with being successful. Look, she posted this while, and she says, while the Starbucks CEO rolls around in his millions, the workers who actually make your coffee are struggling to get by. Workers at world's largest coffee chain deserve a fair contract. But like, what the actual f***? With this mindset, if we all had it, this mindset, Starbucks would never exist. And if the workers don't like their contract, then guess what? They don't have to accept it or sign it. Move on, find a better job, gain some marketable skills, f***ing earn it. But we are now in the era of freebies, handouts, and the socialist push and agenda. And I am convinced that if bin Laden wasn't killed and ran for mayor of New York, the morons there would vote for him. Oh, man. It just goes to show the Democrats aren't actually as dumb as we thought, or as they seem, or look, or behave, and act and speak, because they realize that they can capture a voter pool that's really stupid and dumb by presenting to them stupid and dumb ideas that they'll vote for. You know, it's actually quite genius. You know, I just don't know how long it's going to hold out. But I tell you what, you have a choice, Pocahontas, and you can look, you and everyone else can only pick two. Either you get buses and they can be free, fast, or violence free, but not all three. You can only pick two. And there you have it. Choice. Hell, you've already made the choice not to buy Starbucks coffee. Perks of living in the greatest country on the planet. And yeah, I'd like to keep it that way. And so to that, I say, keep up the great work, everybody. Zoran, Katie, Warren, Newsom, all of you. Just keep doing what you're doing, which is biting the hand that feeds you. And soon enough, you all will go hungry and starve too. And I look forward to seeing all the great people and great businesses, along with great politics, unified and collected right here, where they all are welcome and appreciated. Happy Friday, everyone, and have a great night and a wonderful and safe weekend. God bless.